Too much stress ruining your game? You might need better distress tolerance, and I've got some strategies. Let's talk about distress tolerance. Distress tolerance is exactly what its name implies. It is an ability to tolerate distress. Just like a high pain tolerance is an ability to tolerate pain, a high distress tolerance is a strong ability or a well-developed ability to tolerate distress. Well, why is that important? Because distress tolerance is linked to better emotional regulation, which means a person will feel better, they'll be more emotionally regulated, but they'll be less reactive, less likely to lose their temper. They'll be more equipped to handle those difficult conversations with difficult people. And they'll have better resilience as they go through life's ups and downs and bumps and bruises. So, I'm going to give you today 5 tips to improve your distress tolerance. Let's just jump right in. Number 1, you want to acknowledge the emotion while practicing mindsight. What do I mean by that? Mindsight, this is a term by Dan Siegel, and what it refers to is the ability to kind of, when you're thinking or feeling something, to kind of step back and ask yourself, what do you think's going on in your brain? If you are distressed, you are in your limbic system. Those are coming from your amygdala, whether it's feelings of being emotionally overwhelmed or being anxious or being angry or agitated or just overwhelmingly sad. That's coming from your amygdala. So you want to be able to practice some mindsight and say, okay, I need to quiet that amygdala so I can go back to my frontal lobe and hang out with empathy and altruism and right processing right and wrong and higher order reasoning and all of those good things. Because if you're over here, you are in a constant sympathetic nervous system state, which will take its toll on your body. It's good when you need to run away from a bear, but not good as kind of a chronic baseline state. So, back to step number 1, you're going to practice mindsight and acknowledge what you're feeling at the same time. Now, why do you need to acknowledge it? Many of us were taught that if a feeling is bad, you just need to not have that feeling. And what science has since taught us, and what we know from science, is that when you try to ignore a feeling, when you try to push it down, it actually intensifies that feeling. So if you're trying to not be anxious, you're just creating more anxiety. So you want to acknowledge it and label it, but we don't want to give it power. Here's the thing with emotions. We're going to run our feelings rather than letting our feelings run us. So we practice some mindsight and we acknowledge, like, hey, feeling, I see that you're there. I'm not going to give you any power and that you don't get any more space, but I see you. Okay? That brings us to step number 2, and that is to talk yourself through it. A lot of times when we have distressing feelings, we're like, oh, I can't bear this. I can't take this. I'm not going to make it through. This is just too overwhelming. It's just too much. This is the end of the world. I feel like I'm going to die. You have to talk yourself through that distress and say, these feelings are not fatal. They are not going to kill me. They're not going to rule me. They're not going to run me. They are a lot. They're very strong, but I am equipped to be able to manage these myself. And even if I feel like I'm not, I know who I can go to talk to be able to manage those feelings. So you want to talk yourself through it. That was step number 2. That brings us to step number 3, and that is to include a spiritual break. And what I mean by that is you can really learn to tolerate some of that stress if you will stop and pray and read some scripture or sing a hymn or a praise song. And that is because it will take you, it'll help to quiet that limbic system and bring you back into your frontal lobe. Now, I have a couple videos that will explain that. One is my video on the spiritual disciplines for mental health, but also I have a video that was a request from another listener on why do the Psalms and hymns help? And it's because of the way in which they will re-regulate our brain when our distress levels get too high. So, number one, mindsight and acknowledge the feeling. Two, talk yourself through it. Three is to take a spiritual break. That brings us to four, which is to practice radical acceptance. This is a term that comes from dialectical and behavioral therapy, but it's, I believe, very biblical. Radical acceptance is, I don't like that this happened, but this is a fact. I've had to practice radical acceptance when people that were really close to me that I love dearly have died. I don't like it, but there's no way I can change it. And if I am judgmental or if I'm just reactive, judgmental of the situation or judgmental of myself, just reactive to the situation, if I try to fight it, I'm not going to develop any peace around it. So radical acceptance, sometimes it's enough to even just say, I'm just going to radically accept this horrible thing that I really, really hate. And as you practice that, to allow yourself self-compassion by just walking in the grace that God has already given you. That brings us to five. And five is to be able to self-soothe and distract. If you've tried these other four steps and you're still like, that's not a technical term, but if you're still feeling really overwhelmed and the distress level is too high, you can practice self-soothing techniques and distraction. So self-soothing techniques might look like taking a break and engaging in a hobby, or going for a run if that's something that's soothing for you, that tends to bring down, it helps release cortisol from the body, so it's calming for a lot of people. um, a cold swim sometimes is helpful for people because of the way that it helps calm the nervous system. Distraction can also be good. Too much distraction so that a person is avoiding dealing with anything is not a healthy coping strategy, but it's okay to distract yourself for a time to give your nervous system a break. So that might look like giving yourself a break to play solitaire on your phone, not for 12 hours a day, but maybe for 10 or 20 minutes, to give your brain something else to think about, or watching a good, heartwarming movie, maybe a sitcom. I'm not a person that generally prescribes a lot of TV or media. I have a video that talks a little bit about what happens in the brain when we watch TV. That's the video on social media and the brain. But sometimes you need that distraction to be able to get your mind off of the distress, to be able to develop better distress tolerance. I hope these tips have been helpful for you today. And until next time, may the Lord bless you and keep you.